The alien world was quiet. Too quiet. A human wandered alone, unaware of the eyes watching him. She appeared like a shadow, moving with grace no human could understand. Her gaze locked on him, and the air seemed to change. Every other alien in the area froze as she rubbed her scent on him, marking him. From that moment, no one dared come close. The human didn't understand what had happened. But soon, he would learn that in this world, she had claimed him, and danger lurked. In every corner, one wrong step, one careless glance, and the forces hunting him would strike. And she would protect him at any cost. The sun had begun to sink behind the alien mountains, painting the sky with strange shades of blue and orange. The human, James, walked slowly through the glowing forest. He had never seen trees like these before, tall and silver, with leaves that shimmered like glass. Every step he took made a soft, melodic sound as the ground beneath him seemed alive. He was alone, and yet he felt eyes watching him from the shadows. James had come to this world by accident. His ship had malfunctioned, leaving him stranded. Now, every movement he made was cautious. He knew this planet was filled with life forms far different from Earth, but he didn't expect to feel a presence so close, so deliberate. A rustle echoed from above. James looked up and froze. A figure moved silently between the glowing branches, a female alien, tall and elegant, with skin that reflected the light like polished silver. Her eyes were a bright, piercing green, and they seemed to see right into him. She didn't speak, but somehow James understood she was aware of every step he took. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. "Hello," he called softly. The alien tilted her head slightly, almost as if amused, but she did not respond. Her gaze never left him. James felt a strange pull, like something was drawing him toward her, though he could not understand why. The forest was silent except for the occasional hum of floating creatures above. James felt a sudden chill, though the air was warm. The alien moved closer, her steps silent, almost floating over the ground. She stopped just a few meters away, crouched slightly, and extended one hand toward him. In that moment, James noticed a faint glow surrounding her fingertips. He didn't know what to do. Part of him wanted to run, but another part was frozen by curiosity. She lowered her hand and brushed it across his shoulder. The touch was gentle like a soft breeze, but it left a lingering warmth that seemed to settle inside him. Then, before he could react, she withdrew her hand and stepped back. Suddenly, a group of smaller alien creatures appeared from the shadows. Their movements were quick and coordinated, circling him as if testing his presence. James froze, unsure if they were hostile, but the female alien moved forward without hesitation. She raised her arms slightly, and the creatures immediately halted. They didn't attack. Instead, they looked at her and then slowly backed away. James watched in awe. It was clear she had some authority over them. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? What was this place? Why was she interested in him? He realized that somehow she had marked him in a way he couldn't understand. The creatures had obeyed her, and that made him feel both nervous and oddly safe at the same time. The alien tilted her head again, studying him. Then, without warning, she turned and disappeared into the shimmering trees. James hesitated, not knowing whether to follow or stay. Something inside him told him he should follow. He stepped carefully after her, weaving between the glowing trunks, trying to catch sight of her in the shifting light. As he walked, James noticed strange markings on the ground, soft impressions that glowed faintly for a few seconds before fading. He realized they were some kind of trail, like she had left a path for him to follow. It made him even more curious. Why would she want him to follow? What would he find if he did? He pushed forward, keeping his senses alert. The forest seemed alive, reacting to every movement he made. Strange plants bent slightly as he passed, and the air shimmered around him. He felt a connection with this place, something he couldn't explain. Then, through the glowing leaves, he saw her again. She was standing on a small rise, looking back at him with those bright green eyes. This time, she spoke not with words, but through a sound that resonated in his mind. It was soft and musical, like a whisper carried on the wind. He understood. A single thought, follow me, but stay close. Danger is near, but I will protect you. James swallowed hard. He had no idea what awaited him, but the confidence in her presence gave him courage. He nodded slightly, as if she could see him, and began moving toward her. Each step took him deeper into the alien world, where light, sound, and life were unlike anything he had ever known. The sun dipped fully below the horizon, leaving the forest bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. Shadows danced around him, but he no longer felt alone. She was there, watching him, guiding him. And though he did not yet understand the bond forming between them, he felt it deep inside, something strong, something unbreakable. As they moved through the trees, James couldn't shake the feeling that his life had changed forever. This was only the beginning. The alien had marked him, and now he was part of a world he had never imagined. A world filled with wonder, mystery, and challenges he could not yet foresee. And as he glanced at her once more, he realized that no matter what came next, he was no longer just a human wandering alone. He was someone who had been chosen, and nothing would ever be the same. The alien led James through a hidden path that seemed alive. The trees bent slightly as if guiding them, and the glowing plants pulsed softly with every step. James could feel the hum of the forest vibrating under his feet. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced. His heart was still racing from the encounter with the smaller creatures, but now curiosity mixed with a strange comfort. He didn't understand why, but he trusted her. She moved with elegance, her every step deliberate. Occasionally, she glanced back, making sure he was following. James noticed something strange. Wherever she stepped, the ground shimmered faintly, leaving behind marks that faded in seconds. It was as though she left traces only he could sense, guiding him deeper into the unknown. "What is this place?" James asked softly, his voice barely carrying over the quiet hum of the forest. She did not answer in words, but a soft vibration filled his mind. He realized she communicated differently. Images and feelings passed through him, subtle but clear. A sense of safety, curiosity, and something else, possessiveness, flowed from her. It was almost like she was saying, "You are mine, and I will watch over you." They reached a small clearing, bathed in soft blue light that emanated from floating orbs hanging in the air. The alien paused and looked at him. She extended her hand. Again, and this time, James could see a faint glow forming around her fingers. She touched his arm gently, and a warmth spread through him. Suddenly, he felt it, an invisible bond linking him to her. It was subtle but undeniable. Wherever she went, he felt tethered to her presence, safe yet aware that the world around them was unpredictable. Before he could ask more questions, a sound echoed from the trees, a soft rustling that made his skin tingle. Shadows shifted, and tiny creatures appeared, curious but cautious. They moved toward him, sniffing the air, and James froze. The alien moved forward effortlessly. She raised her hand slightly, and the creatures paused, then retreated quietly. James realized something important. Her presence and her mark on him commanded respect, even without a word. As they continued, she guided him to a small stream with water that glowed faintly green. James knelt down, cupping the water in his hands. It tasted fresh but slightly metallic, different from anything he had experienced on Earth. He looked at her, and she tilted her head slightly, almost smiling. Through the subtle feeling in his mind, he understood. She wanted him to drink, to take in the world fully. Every sense, every moment mattered here. They rested by the stream for a while, and James took the chance to observe her more closely. Her eyes were mesmerizing, reflecting colors he couldn't name. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, moving with a life of its own. He realized that every detail of her being was connected to the world around them, and he couldn't help but feel awed. The forest, the glowing plants, the creatures all seemed to respond to her presence. And now, through some unspoken ritual, he was part of it. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them vibrated slightly. James looked around, startled, but the alien remained calm. She pressed her hand gently on his shoulder, sending another wave of warmth through him. The vibrations grew stronger, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of the forest itself. The alien pointed ahead, and James followed her gaze. Far in the distance, a massive silhouette moved slowly among the glowing trees. He could not make out its shape clearly, but it radiated an aura of authority. The alien tensed slightly, and James felt it through her silent communication. This was someone important, someone who could challenge the order of this world. She turned to him briefly, her eyes locking onto his. For the first time, James noticed a subtle expression, almost like a warning mixed with reassurance. Do not be afraid, but be ready. This world is alive, and it watches us. James nodded, though he was not entirely sure he understood. The bond between them seemed stronger now, almost tangible. He could feel the forest responding to their presence, the trees shifting slightly, the light of the orbs brightening, the creatures observing from a distance. It was as if the entire world acknowledged that he belonged with her, marked and recognized in a way no other human could be. As they approached a gentle slope, the alien stopped and turned to him fully. She extended both hands, palms facing him, and for a moment, James felt a surge of connection unlike anything he had experienced before. It was as if she had imprinted a piece of herself onto him, not physically, but in every sense that mattered. Through this silent bond, he understood. He was hers now. Others would sense it. Others would know. And while the forest was beautiful and mysterious, it also held dangers he could not yet see. The alien motioned toward a cave hidden behind a cascade of glowing vines. Come, she seemed to say. Inside, you'll learn more, and the world outside will wait for now. Hesitant but curious, James followed, stepping carefully through the glowing foliage. Every step seemed to pulse with energy, guiding him deeper into the unknown. Inside the cave, the light shifted from blue to soft gold, illuminating walls etched with strange symbols. James tried to make sense of them, but the meaning was beyond his understanding. The alien gestured for him to sit, then moved to a small pedestal in the center. A faint glow spread from the pedestal, and James realized it was some kind of map showing paths, glowing creatures and regions of the alien world he had not yet seen. Through the connection they shared, he sensed her intention. She was showing him the world, preparing him, marking him not just with presence, but with knowledge. Hours or maybe minutes passed. Time felt different here. The forest outside whispered through the cave, its sounds almost like music. James knew, without a doubt, that this encounter was only the beginning. The alien had marked him, claimed him in a way he could not resist, and now he had a place in a world far beyond his imagination. And somewhere out there, among the glowing trees and unseen creatures, challenges awaited him, waiting to test the bond he shared with her. James followed her deeper into the cave, feeling the warmth of her presence like a protective shield around him. The glow from the pedestal dimmed slightly as they walked, but it left traces of light that seemed to guide their steps. The symbols on the walls shimmered faintly, and James felt drawn to them, though he could not understand their meaning. Each symbol seemed alive, pulsing as if the cave itself breathed. The alien moved gracefully ahead, pausing every few steps to glance back at him. Her eyes held a calm intensity, and he felt a strange mixture of awe and comfort. It was as if she could sense his thoughts, his fears, and his wonder. Through the subtle connection they shared, he realized she had chosen him not by chance, but deliberately. She had seen something unique in him, something worth marking and protecting. They reached a small chamber filled with softly glowing crystals. The light bounced off the walls, creating patterns that danced like living creatures. The alien gestured for him to look closer at the crystals, and when he did, he noticed something extraordinary. The crystals reflected images of the world outside, showing hidden paths, creatures, and places he had never seen. Each crystal seemed to carry knowledge, history, and energy from the alien world. James reached out to touch one, and immediately a warmth spread through his fingers. He saw visions, fleeting moments of other humans, creatures, and landscapes. He blinked, and the visions faded, leaving him with a deep sense of wonder. The alien placed her hand over his, guiding him gently. Through the connection, he understood that she wanted him to learn, to remember, and to grow. Her mark was more than a claim, it was a bond of understanding, a link to the mysteries of her world. Outside the chamber, the cave walls began to shimmer. With movement, shadows shifted, But they were not threats. They were creatures of light, curious and cautious, watching from a distance. James realized that everywhere she went, the world seemed to notice. The creatures obeyed her silent command, and now he, too, was part of that recognition. She led him to another passage, narrower this time, winding like a spiral staircase. The air grew warmer, and the glow of the walls turned from soft blue to gentle gold. James felt his heartbeat quicken, not from fear, but from anticipation. He sensed that he was approaching a place of importance, a center of knowledge and secrets that the alien wanted him to see. Finally, they reached a wide cavern where the ceiling opened to the sky. Bioluminescent vines hung down like waterfalls of light, and floating islands drifted silently above. The sight was breathtaking, but James barely noticed the beauty at first. His attention was drawn to the alien, who stood at the center, radiant and commanding. She raised her hands slowly, and the floating islands shifted slightly, responding to her presence. It was a subtle display, but James understood. She was not just powerful. She was the keeper of this world's balance. She turned to him, her green eyes meeting his. Through their connection, he felt a message. You are here for a reason. The world you see is alive, and it has chosen you as I have. James swallowed hard. The weight of the moment pressed on him. But it was not frightening. It was exhilarating. He realized that he had entered a world far beyond his imagination, and he was no longer just a visitor. Suddenly, the air shifted. A gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers unknown to Earth, and James noticed that some of the floating islands now held creatures he had never seen. Small, winged beings with luminous patterns. They hovered carefully, curious but respectful. The alien gestured for him to observe, and James realized that every detail mattered. The world had rules, and she knew them all. She was teaching him silently, preparing him to understand and survive here. Hours or maybe minutes passed as they explored. James learned to read the subtle signs of the forest outside, the language of light and movement, and the rhythm of life that pulsed through everything. The alien guided him without words, marking him not just with her presence, but with knowledge and insight. He felt himself changing, feeling the bond grow stronger, the connection deeper. Then, she paused near a waterfall of light, the water shimmering in shades of green and silver. She extended her hand to him, and he placed his hand in hers. For the first time, he felt the full intensity of her mark, not just a physical sign, but a presence that intertwined with his own being. He could sense that the world recognized it too. The creatures around them paused, the light shifted, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. James realized something important. This was no longer just about following her. It was about becoming part of something bigger, a world alive with secrets, beauty, and challenges he had yet to understand. The alien had chosen him, and through her guidance, he was learning to navigate a life far beyond his old reality. As the sun dipped below the horizon outside the cavern, painting the sky with colors that seemed unreal, James looked at her once more. She had marked him, guided him, and prepared him for what lay ahead. And though he did not yet know the challenges that awaited, he felt a deep certainty. He was hers now, and together, they would face the mysteries of this world. The air outside the cavern was alive with a soft hum, almost musical, as if the world itself whispered secrets to those who listened. James followed her carefully, feeling the warmth of her presence with every step. The glow of the plants seemed brighter now, reflecting off her skin in patterns that danced like liquid silver. He realized he had never felt such calm, yet such anticipation. At the same time, they approached a valley where the terrain shifted dramatically. The ground was soft and covered with glowing moss that lit their path. Towering crystalline trees reached high into the sky, their branches intertwining to create natural bridges. Strange creatures moved in the distance, some small and delicate, others large and slow, but none approached too closely. Every living thing seemed aware of her presence, of the mark she had placed on him, and it gave James a sense of awe he could barely describe. She paused near a crystal grove, her eyes scanning the area. James noticed that the creatures were watching her, waiting for a signal. He understood instinctively that she commanded respect, not through force, but through some deep connection with the world itself. As she turned to him, Her gaze softened, and he felt the bond grow even stronger. He was no longer a visitor. He was recognized as hers, and the world seemed to acknowledge it. A soft rustling came from the far side of the grove. James froze, unsure what to expect. The alien noticed immediately and stepped slightly in front of him, as if shielding him. Though her expression remained calm, from behind the shimmering trees, figures began to appear. They were other aliens, not small like the ones they had seen before, but taller, more imposing, with eyes that glimmered like precious stones. They didn't move aggressively, yet James felt the tension in the air, subtle but undeniable. The alien extended her hand toward James, and a faint pulse of light traveled between them. He understood, without words, that he was under her protection, that the world recognized her claim, and that she would guide him through this challenge. The other aliens paused, their attention caught by the pulse. Slowly, they backed away. Acknowledging her authority, James felt a mix of relief and fascination. He had never seen anything like this. Someone could be recognized not by words, but by the energy of their being, and that energy extended to him. She led him further into the grove, past pools of glowing water and crystal formations that reflected the sky. James tried to take in every detail, knowing he might never see anything like this again. The alien moved with ease, stepping over roots and stones as though the world bent slightly to her will. He followed closely, feeling both excited and cautious. They reached a plateau overlooking a valley filled with floating lights. The alien gestured for him to look closely. As he peered over the edge, he saw patterns of movement below, creatures migrating in elegant formations, plants bending as if in harmony with unseen currents, and streams of light flowing across the valley like rivers of energy. The scene was breathtaking. Through their connection, James felt her pride, her joy, and a hint of concern. She was showing him the world, teaching him to understand its rhythm, to see the unseen patterns that guided everything. As they explored, the alien paused near a tree whose trunk glowed with golden light. She reached out and touched it, gently, and the glow spread along the roots to the ground where James stood. A warmth filled him, deep and soothing, but also alerting him to the presence of something else nearby. He felt a ripple in the forest, a subtle shift that told him another being was approaching. From the edge of the plateau, a figure emerged. It was an alien, smaller than the ones before, but its eyes reflected intelligence and curiosity. It moved, carefully watching the alien who had marked him. James could sense a challenge in its presence, not of harm, but of rivalry. The marked alien stepped slightly forward, a quiet signal of authority. The figure hesitated, then slowly nodded, retreating. Without confrontation, James realized that even rivals recognized her, that her bond with him created respect across the world he had just begun to understand. She turned to him with a faint smile, almost playful, as if acknowledging his amazement. Through their silent connection, he felt a message. This world tests all who enter it. You are marked, but you must learn to move within it. Trust in me, and you will see what others cannot. James nodded, though words felt inadequate. Every step they took revealed new wonders, floating gardens of light, streams of energy flowing like liquid, and creatures that moved in perfect harmony. He felt a growing understanding, not just of the alien world, but of the alien who had chosen him. The bond between them was no longer subtle. It was strong, protective, and guiding. As twilight settled over the valley, the alien led him to a small platform carved from living crystal. It overlooked the entire grove, the valley, and the glowing horizon beyond. She gestured for him to sit beside her, and James obeyed, still in awe of everything he saw. Through their silent connection, he sensed her thoughts. The world will offer challenges, choices, and lessons. You are not alone. You are mine, and together we will understand this place. The mark is more than a signal. It is a promise that I will guide you, and that you will learn to belong here. James felt a deep sense of peace, though the world around him was full of unknowns. He realized that he had entered a story much larger than himself, that the bond with her was both a privilege and a responsibility. And as the glowing plants swayed gently in the evening light, he understood that every moment here would teach him, challenge him, and shaped the human he had once been. This was only the beginning. The world was alive, full of beauty, mystery, and lessons waiting to be discovered. And through it all, he felt it clearly. He belonged with her, marked and recognized in a way no other human could ever experience. The journey ahead was uncertain, but with her presence, he was ready to face it. The soft glow of the alien world shifted as James and the female alien moved through a narrow canyon. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the canyon itself had a heartbeat. James could feel the energy flowing through the ground beneath him, a rhythm that made every step feel alive. The alien moved ahead with ease, and James realized he had begun to trust her completely, though every step reminded him how unfamiliar this world was. Suddenly, a group of glowing creatures appeared along the canyon walls. They were curious, tilting their heads and moving closer, but they did not seem threatening. James froze, unsure how to react. The alien glanced back at him, a soft gesture that seemed to say, "Stay calm. Watch and learn." He nodded slightly, trying to understand. She extended her hand, and a faint wave of light passed from her fingertips to the creatures. Immediately, they paused, then hovered calmly round them, creating a corridor of light that guided their path. James realized the bond she had formed with him extended to this world. Commanding recognition without fear or force, they reached a pool of shimmering water, the surface glowing with golden ripples. The alien motioned for him to kneel and drink. James complied. As the liquid touched his lips, a warmth spread through him. The sensation was not only physical, it felt like understanding. He could sense the rhythm of the world, the life in the plants, the patterns in the creatures' movements, and the way the air itself shifted. It was overwhelming, yet comforting. As they rested near the pool, James noticed a faint shimmer in the distance. Something or someone was moving along the ridge above them. The alien stiffened slightly. Though her expression remained calm, James sensed the shift immediately. Whoever approached recognized her presence, and through the bond she had formed with him, recognized him too. The newcomer paused, observing them from afar, and then slowly approached. It was another alien, smaller than the ones they had encountered before, but its movements were precise and deliberate. It stopped a few meters away, studying them carefully. James felt a subtle tension, not of danger, but of testing. The alien beside him stepped forward slightly, her eyes glowing softly. Through the connection between them, James felt her silent command. This was a trial, a test of understanding, loyalty, and courage. The newcomer tilted its head and made a soft sound. The alien beside James responded with a subtle pulse of light that moved between them instantly. The tension dissolved. The newcomer seemed satisfied and slowly retreated, leaving James awed. He understood now that this world communicated through presence, energy, and recognition, not words or conflict. Every being had its place, and the mark she had placed on him meant he belonged in this balance. As they continued along the canyon, James began to feel a change within himself. He was no longer just observing, he was learning, adapting. He began noticing the smallest details, the glow of the plants, the rhythm of the floating lights, the direction of the wind. He realized that every movement of the alien was purposeful, teaching him how to move, think, and sense in this world. They climbed a series of crystal steps leading to a high plateau overlooking a vast forest of bioluminescent trees. From here, James could see the patterns of life moving below, creatures migrating, plants responding to the currents of air, and streams of glowing water flowing like ribbons. The alien stopped and turned to him, her gaze holding his. Through their silent connection, he felt her pride, but also a challenge. You must learn, you must trust, and you must grow. This world is beautiful, but it will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine. James nodded. Though he could not put his thoughts into words, he felt the weight of the moment, the understanding that he was no longer a stranger here, that he had been marked, chosen, and guided. Every step he took, every breath he drew, was part of a larger rhythm he was just beginning to understand. The alien led him further into the plateau, where a small garden of luminous flowers thrived despite the dimming light. Each flower seemed to react to their presence, opening slightly as they approached. The alien gestured for him to touch one, and when he did, A soft pulse traveled through his fingers, connecting him to the garden. For the first time, he truly understood the depth of her gift. The mark was not only a sign of possession, but a bridge to the life and knowledge of this world. As the sky outside shifted from twilight to a deep, glowing blue, James realized he had changed. He was more alert, more aware, and more connected to everything around him. The alien beside him smiled faintly, as if acknowledging his progress. Through their bond, he felt her thoughts. "You are learning. You are becoming part of this world. And you are learning to be with me." He sat beside her as the soft hum of the forest surrounded them. The glowing plants swayed gently in a rhythm he now recognized. Every detail, every movement, every pulse of light reinforced what he had learned. He was no longer an outsider. He had been marked, guided, and accepted. And though the journey ahead was still uncertain, he felt ready. The alien had not only claimed him, she had prepared him, teaching him to move, see, and sense in a world unlike any other. As night fully settled over the plateau, James glanced at her once more. The bond between them pulsed softly, a living reminder of his place in this world. He understood that the adventures and lessons ahead would test him in ways he could not yet see, but for the first time, he felt a certainty he had never known. He was hers, and together, they were ready to explore the wonders and mysteries of this alien world. The night sky over the alien world shimmered with a million floating lights, painting the horizon in colors James had no words for. He walked beside her through a softly glowing meadow, the plants lighting up with every step they took. The air was warm, filled with a gentle hum that seemed to flow through everything. He realized that the world was alive in ways he had only begun to understand. She led him to the edge of a plateau overlooking a vast valley below. Streams of golden light flowed like rivers, and clusters of creatures moved in harmonious patterns, their glowing forms reflecting the rhythm of the land. James felt a sense of awe so deep it left him breathless. This world was alive, beautiful, and filled with secrets, and he was now a part of it. The alien stopped and turned toward him, her green eyes reflecting the floating lights. She raised her hand and, with a gentle gesture, directed a wave of shimmering energy toward him. James felt it wash over him, warm and comforting, yet charged with meaning. Through their silent connection, he understood. He had learned. He had grown. And he had become part of her world. The bond she had placed on him was complete, linking their presence, their senses, and their understanding. They sat together on the plateau, the soft glow of plants and floating lights surrounding them. The alien's gaze held his, and for the first time, James felt a complete sense of belonging. The mark she had given him was not just a sign, it was a promise. It was a connection that went deeper than any words could express. He realized that he was no longer just a human in an alien world. He was someone recognized, chosen, and guided. The world around them pulsed gently, responding to the bond between them. Creatures paused their movements to watch, and the flowing streams of light seemed to swirl in patterns that mirrored their connection. James could feel the pulse of the world itself, steady and alive, intertwined with the presence of the alien who had claimed him. Every sound, every movement, every shimmer of light told a story. He was now part of. As they watched, a soft breeze carried the scent of glowing flowers, and James noticed the floating creatures descending closer. They hovered around them, gentle and calm, a living audience to the bond that had formed. He realized that the world itself recognized the change his presence marked, protected, and accepted by the alien who had guided him. She extended her hand toward him once more. This time, James placed both of his hands in hers, a warmth spread from the touch, wrapping around him like a protective cocoon. The connection pulsed, stronger and more intimate than ever before. He felt her thoughts as clearly as his own, pride, trust, and a gentle warning. Together, we move forward. Together, we belong. The world is ours to explore, to understand, and to protect. James smiled, finally understanding the depth of what had happened. The alien had marked him, yes, but more than that. She had opened the door to a world full of wonder, connection, and discovery. He was no longer lost or afraid. He was part of something larger, something alive, and something extraordinary. The sky above began to change, colors shifting slowly as the alien world's night moved toward dawn. Streams of light in the valley glowed brighter, responding to the energy around them. James could sense the flow of life, the patterns, the movements, the balance, and he knew that he was ready. Ready to explore, ready to learn, ready to face whatever mysteries awaited. She leaned slightly toward him, and through their connection, James felt a subtle reassurance. No matter what comes next, you are mine, and I will guide you. The mark is not just a bond, it is a promise of unity, understanding, and protection. Together, they rose from the plateau, walking side by side into the glowing world. Every step was filled with rhythm, connection, and wonder. The plants swayed, the floating lights danced, and the creatures moved gracefully around them. Acknowledging their presence, the world was alive, and they were alive within it. Marked, chosen, and inseparable, James looked at her once more, feeling a warmth he had never known. He realized that this journey, though full of mysteries and challenges, had given him something far greater than survival. He had found belonging, understanding, and a connection that went beyond words. In a world unlike anything he had ever known, he had been chosen, guided, and marked by her in a way that nothing could undo. The glowing horizon stretched endlessly before them, promising new discoveries, new adventures, and a life intertwined with hers. James felt a thrill of anticipation, knowing that this was only the beginning. The alien had claimed him, the world had recognized him, and together, they would move forward into a future full of wonder, connection, and endless possibilities. And as they walked into the shimmering light of the alien dawn, James knew one thing with absolute certainty. He was hers, completely and forever, and nothing would ever be the same again.